what about emotionally? Were you like angry, like sad, upset when you first got diagnosed? Like,
Um, I was I was kind of intrigued.
Right. Hey everyone, before this video started, I wanted to give a quick introduction. The clip you guys just heard was from Spencer Lee, a current senior at Avon Old Homes High School. He was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia back in March of 2021. Um, you guys are gonna hear, Spencer's story is super interesting, really cool person, and I hope you guys enjoy his perspective on cancer treatment. But before that, I wanted to say that Spencer is actually my brother and inspiration for creating this podcast. I saw firsthand the struggles a cancer patient goes through, and I wanted to create this podcast to spread inspiration for other kids going through the same thing he went through and create awareness for the struggles they go through. And I guess with that being said, I hope you enjoy Spencer's story. Thank you.
Right.
So my name is Spencer. I'm a high school senior right now, and I was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia or acute myelogenous leukemia in March of 2021 last year. So basically, like midway through the COVID pandemic, which was real fun. I'll tell you that.
all right, so
Yeah.
let's start this off with what were you doing before your diagnostic, and like what were your goals, like without seeing cancer in the future? What was that like?
I like I don't know. I was like really grinding high school, so just like doing schoolwork, doing clubs, robotics, and all that stuff. Um, there's like I was like leading clubs there. We had like engineering club, and we were building electric cars and stuff like that. So we had a lot of fun, and then I got diagnosed, and then all the projects stopped, which is kind of sad. But yeah, so that's what I was planning on doing. Just working to go to college for engineering and computer science.
Mm. So, like now that during your diagnosis, how did things change during the diagnosis?
Um, so I think a lot of people, when they get diagnosed with cancer, they think it's like a really bad thing. I kind of like took it in a different direction because I don't know, like you rarely get chances to meet with like the best professionals in the field. So I like what better way is there to talk to like I don't know, 10-year doctor who's working on cancer research than to just get cancer yourself. Um, it's a little bit dark, but like I think I really if I focus more on that than like actual treatment. So I spent my time like asking the doctors like tons and tons of questions about how everything worked. I read up on a lot of papers and stuff about how it worked, and I think like my whole like worldview changed a little bit. So instead of wanting to do like computer science and stuff, like instead I really found like the biology side super interesting because like you don't actually hear a lot of the details of cancer research. Cancer research is absolutely fascinating. Some of the things are just like wild. Do you want me to like explain some of them?
Well, like I mean, like we can explain later, but like knowing you,
Mhm.
I know for a fact like you never really had any interest in biology, like going into high school.
No.
I know that for a
Yeah,
fact.
but
So like
yeah,
when I first walked into like that Boston hospital, you're like spinning facts about like the
yeah,
digestive system. And I was like, God damn, okay.
hmm
Uh,
yeah. It's super cool. Like I want to grow plants now and stuff like that, like using hydroponics and all that stuff because
mhm.
like I couldn't grow plants in the hospital. Um, so it's like one of the things I'm trying to figure out eventually. I still cannot touch soil, so maybe like a
Really,
few more months. Yeah. So don't bring soil to my room, Derek. I swear to God.
I will not. I will not bring soil to your room. In fact, why'd you want to grow plants?
Um, so I wanted to grow cilantro. I know a lot of people have like mixed opinions about it, but I'm one of those people who
Just in
just
case
like
people don't know what cilantro is, what is cilantro?
it's it's like a leafy green. It's the thing you hear commonly where people say like some people really like it, some people will taste it and it tastes like soap when they eat it. So it's like it's one of those plants. But I will just eat it straight, like just chomp on it. And it is so good. And I wanted to try and grow some in the hospital because I was really bored. Um, because with cancer research or with having cancer, you can't like talk to anyone else because you're completely immunocompromised. Like the medicine kills off pretty much all of your white blood cells. They look for like the neutrophils, the lymphocytes, and all those. And so you can't touch like soil. You can only have like bottled water. You can't drink out of the tap. You have to like everything has to be like wiped down with alcohol wipes and stuff before you use it. It's kind of insane.
That's crazy.
And so yeah,
Mm.
and like in life they say like you always want what you can't have.
So yeah, I feel like
yeah.
especially for immunocompromised people, COVID must have been like it must have been good. Not COVID itself, but the COVID restrictions that came
Oh, yeah.
with like mass social distance. That must have been like really good for immunocompromised people, right?
I think it was like pretty solid. It was pretty scary to have like a virus out there that could obviously potentially kill me if someone wasn't careful.
Mm.
But like basically, so in the hospital, because you're immunocompromised with my condition, generally what you'd have to do is go into what's called, I think it's a positive pressure room, which means that they put more pressure, they pump more air into your room than they let go out. And so um, that means that like you have to stay in the room, you have to like you can't go out, and like the rooms are really small because everything has to be pretty much sealed off. But with the new COVID restrictions, because everyone had to wear masks, I could just be in like a regular cancer ward, I guess. And then like I can go with a mask, I could go walk out in the hallways and stuff like that. And I think it was like much more, I don't know. I think it was much better than it would be like maybe before the pandemic.
Were
I don't know
you
if they're changing it.
were you ever able to interact with other kids with cancer,
Really
like at the
loosely.
hospital?
Like in when I was in treatment in the Boston Children's Hospital, I was able to like see kids walking around because the entire bone marrow transplant ward was pretty much like blocked off. There was no one allowed there that wasn't like I don't know, that wasn't supposed to be there, and everyone was like, I don't know, screened for COVID and like temperature checks and everything. So I got to interact with a few of those people, but there really wasn't anyone my age. All the people were like toddlers, and so I mean, and even in the Connecticut hospital, a lot of them were not my age. So I spent like most of the time making little toys for the kids and stuff. So I printed like a little duck for one of the girls, and like I gave little turtles and Pikachu's and stuff to other patients. So I couldn't interact with them like face to face most of the time, but like I could give them little gifts when I was just as something to do.
And this was through 3D printing, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm a in the hospital. Obviously, you get bored because there's nothing to do for 6 to 8 months. I think that was pretty much my treatment. So I got my parents to give me a 3D printer, and I spent the entire time learning how to do that. I got pretty good at it. It's actually printing in the background right now. I'm making like little cases for holding like screws and bolts and stuff.
Okay.
And then yeah, so just the organized stuff. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you were like super involved in school beforehand. So how did that
Mhm.
change once you went into treatment?
I kind of just like stopped doing all school. Like I
Understandable.
was really, really burnt out. So like I stopped having to do homework and anything. Like there's a 10-page essay that I was supposed to write, didn't have anything done on it, and then I got diagnosed with cancer. I'm just like, nah, I'm not writing any more of this. They can you know.
Were
they'll
any of
figure
the
this
were
out
any of the
later.
teachers like, no, I don't care you have cancer, you have to write this paper?
None of them did that.
Really, I wouldn't put it past some of the teachers. I'm not gonna lie. Hearing the stories I've heard, I wouldn't put it past them.
I think they're like I think like cancer is like a really like big thing. Like everyone knows
Like stigmatized.
cancer. Yeah, it's really stigmatized that like you can't do anything for this amount of time, which yeah, it was pretty much true. Like I couldn't read anything in the hospital for more than like an hour or two because it just like would mess with my brain. I don't know. Like I tried like everything. I tried reading like papers were like scientific stuff about what was going on. I could spend like maybe 30 minutes at a time and like go through it because it was really, really interesting. But like if I was trying to do English homework, I'd read maybe like a chapter or two and I just die because my brain just couldn't handle it. And then like I tried reading like the manga guide to molecular biology, which is a thing that exists. Like there's a manga guide to like physics and like calculus and stuff like that.
Jesus.
But I couldn't get through it. It was tough. I couldn't read and do all that stuff.
I don't even want to know how that works. But on the topic of school, how did your relationship with like students and teachers change after diagnostics? No diagnosis.
I mean, or like pretty much all interaction is online now. So like I just have Discord open all the time, which is a little sad, but you know, like you can't expect much.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it's great. Yeah.
A big question I had. Oh my bad. A big question I had is that like Avon, at least at Avon Old Farms, like there's a very very big community there. Like the brotherhood, even though everyone like likes to joke around it, it's like a real thing. Like even the shirt I'm wearing now, there was some kid at like Trinity Pauling. It wasn't even our school, and like the entire school like rallied for this kid with like brain cancer, like terminal brain cancer or something. So like, but I know in your situation, you didn't really like tell anyone. So I was very like conservative about telling people around school. What is your reasoning behind that?
That's not really my decision. That was more my parents.
Really?
Like I don't know. Yeah, mom and dad have this really weird relationship with other people where they're just like, if they don't need to know, don't tell them. Which is wild. Like even I don't know how much I want to talk about this because this is like not really my decision making. But like I can say, they don't want me to talk about like some of the stuff we do, like if we're like sick with certain diseases, or if our dad is like what our mom and dad's jobs are, like depending on what's going on and stuff like that.
No,
I don't know how much she's talked to you about that. There's more that they haven't, but I'm not going to say it because they don't want me to talk about it.
Like just like typical Asian parent things.
I'd say yeah, pretty much.
Solid.
I don't know how much this is true for other Asian parents, but for us, it's yeah.
Excluding mom and dad, what would you have like announced this to the school or?
I don't know. I'd probably just say like I'd probably tell my friends and they can tell other people. I mean, I don't know. It's not like, nah.
Yeah, I feel like
that happened.
Yeah. I feel like it was definitely like underwhelming. Not like I wanted you to receive unnecessary attention, but like I saw at like the Trinity Pauling thing, it was a huge thing for like a couple weeks, and I was just like, oh, that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that, honestly. I really do not like the spotlight. I figured that out after playing Smee in Peter Pan in middle school. I don't like the stage. I don't like it at all. It's not great.
Understandable. Makes sense.
Yeah. But I do like running all the background stuff, so yeah. It's I'll do tech group, but no stages. Not for me.
How did relationships with like mom and dad go after cancer?
It's about the same. They really care for me a lot. So like the fact that they were willing to stay in the hospital basically like 24/7. It's nice because like their jobs basically are all work from home. They're gonna probably get annoyed for me for saying that, but yeah, they both work from home, so they can kind of like trade around and stuff like that. So one can take care of Derek and one can be with me in the hospital. And I don't know, we had a really nice window in the hospital, so we kind of just like watch the sunsets and stuff, and then talk about like a lot of stuff changed when I got cancer because like I basically like so I got diagnosed in March, which means I couldn't do any of the AP exams because I think I was like literally sedated and like getting a bone marrow biopsy when the AP exams happened. So the teachers basically like filled in my grades with whatever was from the last quarter, which was pretty good. So I'm kind of lucky about that. And then for senior year, what happened was I got really lucky. So because I was grinding high school, I only needed one English class to graduate, and that's literally all I did. So right now I'm just like one online class, like one-on-one with the teacher, and we're just doing a little bit of like learning how to do like researching for writing stuff, and then organizing papers, revisions, and all that stuff, and then reading some of the more interesting books that you can't do during like a regular class.
Wait, before we move on like completely to the college application process, I think you should. It's worthy to note your SAT process. I think it's
I
very
took
worthy.
the SAT, I think 2 weeks before I got officially diagnosed. So I think at that point I probably had like some really bad anemia and all that stuff. So like I did really well in the SAT. I don't know if you want to talk about scores like specifically.
Say the scores. Say the score.
I got a 1500 first try, with anemia and all that stuff. I would have
Right.
I would have wanted to retake it again because I think I could have done much better. But that's also like the airheaded asshole in me talking.
Mm-hmm. So is it confident to say that you had cancer and still got a 1500 on the SAT?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable to say.
All right. No further questions.
No further questions.
No further questions.
I don't know.
So-
I think the SAT is weird for me. I do really well on standardized tests. I don't know, like I just kind of got lucky with that. The way my brain works is just like they give you a certain type of question and then just like a specific way you solve those questions. Just remember all the ways you solve those different questions, and then you're good on the SAT. And some people it's harder for them to do that, and like it's understandable. Everyone works differently. Like the SAT is not an actually good measure of how well you do in life. So
For sure. Sorry for taking your stage ledge. You can continue your question.
Test. I'm not a standardized test person.
yeah. How'd you do?
What did you
with
write
SAT?
your? Oh, I
wait, like
test optional this year. I'll just
good
say
move.
that. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I think I went test.
I didn't do.
optional.
It wasn't. I didn't do like really bad. I just like didn't. It just I was not in the range of like the schools that I wanted.
Not
to
good
go to,
enough for
like,
the Ivies,
average.
right?
So
Yeah, I think
not so
even a 1500 is not in the range of a lot of Ivies. So it was a real debate about whether I should send in some of my scores to some of the schools I was applying to.
yeah, some of their averages are crazy.
Mhm.
So what did you write your college essay about? If you want to talk about that.
It was really difficult because I really did not want to write about cancer treatment. Like as the first thing, I really wanted cancer treatment to be like something that's probably like the least interesting thing about me. But like right now, that's kind of impossible. Because that's literally everything I do right now is entirely based around my treatment. And so I ended up just like giving in and then writing about how I like learned 3D printing in the hospital and like learned about like all the biology behind it and like wanting to do research because of this. And then like changing from more of like a computer science focus to like engineering and robotics, because like I in the hospital you have so much time to think. Like I think I matured like 30 years in there. Like I spent a lot of time thinking about what I wanted to do with my life.
Like an old man.
And so yeah. So I thought about like at the end of the day, I didn't enjoy doing like computer science because I don't actually enjoy sitting at a computer and programming most of the time. Like it is fun sometimes, but like only in specific amounts. But for robotics, where it's like you're doing some programming, some CADing, and then some like physical assembly and stuff like that, it's almost like a meditation.
Say any of them stand out to you, or most importantly, your answer to them.
I mean, I don't think so particularly. I think it was like after like the personal essay, a lot of it was like standard stuff about like previous experiences with robotics and stuff like that, and projects and all that stuff. So you just kind of like talk about what you've done and try to brag, but not seem like an a-hole.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Which is probably the hardest part.
Do you think so did having cancer affect what you want to study? Because you said you want to take a more of like an engineering route.
Yeah. So like my plans depend basically on the college that I get into. Which would also explain how that works later. But like if that goes through, what I want to do is do robotics and then do robotics for biology. So I think right now one of the fields that is growing in use is getting like automated biological like systems. What are they called? Like bio stuff you grow like yeast and bacteria in. I forget the name of it because I'm trying to talk at the same time. But yeah, so they need systems that are like sterilized and automated so that you can scale up production. So like for instance, insulin is made with E. coli. They basically have edited the genome of E. coli to create insulin as like I think it's a protein. I'm not too sure about the exact science, but they basically they've edited the genome so that it spits out E. coli, and then they grow the E. coli in like giant like bioreactors. That's what they're called, like just big vats. And then they have some people have automated systems for that, but a lot of lab work and like wet work is still done like by hand with pipettes and like flames and stuff like that. So a lot of that, um, a lot of like the grunt work can be done better and faster with robotics in order to scale up production and stuff like that. So eventually, that's one of the things I want to try. Like working, I want to see if I can join the Open Insulin project. I don't think they're going to accept like high schoolers who have I don't know like actual experience. Like I have wet lab experience, but I think I want to spend some more time in college before doing it. But I'll join like the Open Insulin project, which they're trying to like create robotic systems that can automate the whole bioreactor and like sample collection and purification process so that people can have cheaper insulin, which is like one of the big issues right now.
That's actually wild, man. I actually wait. Really, is insulin really like from E. coli? That's crazy.
As far as I know, there's probably a few different methods to getting it. I think like the first was from like I don't know if it's like a cow liver or pancreas. It's one of those. One of the organs they used to get it from cows, but nowadays they grow it from bacteria and stuff.
Damn.
I have to find like a source for this later. I may be just like talking, just blowing wind out of my mouth. But as far as I know, it is grown that way. And I think there's a lot more new processes where you can edit like genomes of yeast and different other bacterias and all that stuff to start producing proteins for you, which is kind of wild. Like you can physically program the genomes of these E. coli like or yeast cells and then edit them and then grow them yourself and they will create like there's some guy on YouTube who created like spider silk with what do you call it, yeast, and like that video was just like incredible.
That's I literally can't even imagine it, man. It's wild.
Yeah,
That's fascinating. Yeah.
yeah, that's the type of research that I want to try and do, but on more of like the robotics automation side.
For sure.
So almost like biomedical engineering in a sense.
I think uh so it's more of like an apply sideways type thing. So I don't know, anyone who's paying attention to the MIT newspapers or whatever, they'll tell you to like pick a field. So for instance, like if you're a doctor and you want to get your medical records like all on online and stuff, but like you're also a doctor, you have no idea how to do security, you have no idea how to do programming, web development, and all that stuff, and how to get like all the systems to work together. And so, what the type of person I would be is like the person who goes in and provides the solutions um, that have all the technical side for the doctors, so they can do all their work. It's like a support class, pretty much. Yeah.
So what's something from Kent that you wouldn't expect that you now have?
There's quite a few things that I didn't expect. So, like one of the first things, we'll get to like the part you're interested in later, Derek. But like one of the first things is I had a bone marrow transplant, which means that I got someone else's donor marrow, and so they had a different blood type for me. So they had an O positive blood type. My blood type used to be B positive, but since they killed off all my bone marrow and replaced it with the donor marrow, the new marrow generates O positive blood. So my blood type has actually changed because of this, which is like
Wow.
really, really, it's so weird. Um, yeah, and like at one point they were telling me like they were measuring the blood types and stuff like that, and they couldn't tell if I was O positive or B positive. And that was pretty fun. That was pretty funky. I think about now it should be more like 75% O positive. So like the old B plus cells are starting to die off and stuff like that. But that's one of the weirder side effects of stem cell transplant that like no one ever talks about. Like you don't expect going to biology class like you learn about like O plus and B plus and stuff like that. But like no one ever asks if you can change. So now you know it's possible, and it's super weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I remember,
And-
my bad.
But
I remember like I was seeing Red Cross Club earlier this year, and they were like asking for like 16-year-old kids and older to like donate blood, and then some kid came up to me, oh, your brother, 16-year-old, right? And I don't think he knew you had cancer at the time. So like I remember asking you, and I was like, and you're like, no, I think I could literally give someone cancer if I donated blood, and I was like, I didn't even know you could do that.
It kind of depends. It is probably possible if you give them like some sort of chemotherapy pre-treat, and then you give them my bone marrow instead. Then you could definitely give them cancer, which is like a threat I use against my friends. But yeah, it's definitely like the cancer spreadability is really really low. So, but I won't be able to donate to blood banks and stuff. There are spreadable cancers though. There's two types. There's one from like dogs, canine something. It's like DVF or something. I don't remember what it is exactly, but canines can spread it when through frantic coitus. Let's put it that way. Where they have uh like on their genitalia they'll have like some cancer growth, and then there'll be like some maybe like a cut on the receiving end, we'll say that way. And then like the cells can travel over, and also in like Tasmanian devils, they like to play around by biting each other. So when there's like a cancerous growth that goes in the snout, the cells will fall onto like another Tasmanian devil, and they'll like incorporate themselves into the snout, and then you get like a spreadable cancer in Tasmanian devils, which is kind of cool. Not for Tasmanian devils, but just as
Are there spreadable cancers in humans? Or?
No. The closest thing you get is probably HPV, which is sexually transmitted virus that causes you to get a specific type of cancer. I think it's cervical cancer, but I don't know specifically about that.
And then
things that you wouldn't expect.
And then like another thing, obviously bone marrow transplant and like chemotherapy is ridiculously intensive on the body. So there's a really good chance that I'm never going to be able to have kids.
Does that mean are you sterile, or what does that entail?
Probably sterile. I haven't done a test yet. I think I'm going to ask next time we go to the doctor and get a test done, which is going to be a little awkward. But obviously, you need to be sure when you figure it out. To figure out like if you are, yeah. So, no kids for me. You're gonna carry the bloodline, Derek. Mom's not gonna hound me about this. Only you. Not my problem anymore.
Still means you have to wear a condom though, right?
Yeah, of course. There's more to like sex than like just having kids. Like you don't want to transmit diseases and stuff like that. So obviously you got to be safe.
Of course.
Safe kids.
Stay safe, kids.
Everyone listening out there. Yeah.
So, do you have any advice to current kids going through treatment?
Boy, I don't know. I think I really don't know how to console people for this type of thing. I think I don't know if it's like a great idea for people to follow the mindset that I had, because I'm very much like a nerd. So I'm all science, technology, and stuff. So I focus like entirely on just like what I could do while I was in the hospital, just learning and then like talking to people that were just miles ahead of me in terms of like education and stuff like that. And so that was really nice in getting me through a lot of stuff. I think there'll be some times where it'll be hard, where like you just want to go home and you're just stuck there and everything feels like garbage because chemotherapy and the anti-nausea drugs, and they're putting you on morphine, and like in some cases if like I should explain how like what the actual bad parts of chemotherapy are, but like they'll put you on a bunch of like anti-pain medicine, stuff like that, and like if it gets hard enough or it gets like painful enough, they can actually put you on ketamine.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's one of the things I was seeing on there. Like dude, people actually get ketamine? I asked the nurse that, and and they do. And ketamine is one of the weirder anesthetics out there. Like apparently, it entirely detaches like your pain system from your mind. So like someone could probably be like sawing off your leg, and then like you'd be there like having a conversation with them. Don't quote me on that. I don't know, but that's basically what the nurse told me.
Mm. And in your experience, what was the worst part about chemotherapy?
Um, so everything takes maybe nothing heals. If you get a scratch, or like even if you like, okay, I'm gonna be a little bit. If you take too big of a dump and like you get like tiny tears in like the butthole, basically, those don't heal and those form like cysts and stuff. So it makes it's basically like hemorrhoids, but they they are very painful. And like it sucks. And then they pump you full of morphine. You can't sit down. You gotta just lay there. Like they'll try and give you like different types of chairs that hurt more or less, but it still all just sucks. So I think I got like a lot of morphine in the hospital for that. And then other things that can happen are like you'll get sores in your mouth. Like if you like bite your lip or something, it doesn't heal. It'll just become like a really weird sore until your neutrophils come back, which are like um, they they're part of the like pretty much bacterial cleanup stuff. I'm assuming they're part of the white blood cells. But I also like based on this, I assume they have like a large part in signaling to like regenerate the old and like damaged tissues and stuff. But without those, you're kind of in pain for literally a month until your chemotherapy treatment is over. Yeah,
That's wild.
which not fun.
Yeah, definitely not fun. So, like in the grand scheme of all types of cancer, where does AML, like the type of cancer you got, rank in terms of like treatment time, like full recovery, and like in that aspect?
So, I think one of the things I said when I first got diagnosed was that like they said leukemia, and I was really glad that I understood the word leukemia because if I didn't know the disease that they told me about, I would be utterly terrified. Like I would be so scared because if the doctor tells you you have a disease and you have to name it, like you're gonna die. There's just no talk. That was probably really harsh. It depends on like treatment and stuff, but like there's your odds aren't looking very good. So the fact that I knew it was leukemia and like I'd read some books about it and stuff like that, I felt a little bit more confident about it. Like maybe 20, 50 years ago, the chance of dying from leukemia was like 90% for kids and stuff. But nowadays, it's much, much better. You're very, very likely to walk out of the hospital, a little bruised up, but you're mostly fine. In terms of like generally like myeloid leukemia, it generally happens in older people. It's a lot of the times the cause of death for people who are like 65 and older. And childhood leukemia is kind of rare as far as I know. I think the other one, which is ALL, I had AML, which is acute myeloid leukemia. The other one is acute lymphatic. I think it's lymphatic. It might be like lymphocyte or something. Leukemia, but that one occurs about like 1 in 50,000, I think, and AML occurs in about 1 in 200,000. So my case was much much rarer than general. Yeah.
Percentage wise, what is that for both of those?
I don't know if you can conflate odds with percentages, but I think I did some calculations. It's like just 0.000 4 zeros and then a 5.
Jesus.
Oh no, I think it's 2 zeros and then the 5. I don't know. Either way, it's like it's a ridiculously small number, a small chance. Yeah,
It's crazy.
So do you have any like changes that you think you went through mentally and emotionally throughout the process?
I think like yeah, I went through like a lot of growth in the hospital. Like there was So like during grinding high school, you don't think about anything else except for like, oh, this math problem, how do I solve this? Or this biology stuff, or English, I gotta write this essay. But like I think that's kind of one of the things that high school kind of robs from you is the ability to really think about what you would like to do with what you're given. Um, and I got a lot of that back in the hospital, so I started like like I say, like thinking about how I could contribute just to the world and making stuff better for people. Um, yeah, it really changed like my worldview and stuff like that. So, and like also now I can like see patterns in other people that I used to go through, and it's like it's kind of funny, but it's obviously like I look back at what I did as some of the things I did as younger, like maybe like even 2 years ago, I was just cringe so hard. Yeah.
What about emotionally? Were you like angry, like sad, upset when you first got diagnosed? Like,
Um, I was I was kind of intrigued. Uh,
really?
yeah. So like the first thing I think I was like texting one of my friends. I was like, so I'm in the ER right now. I've got dots all over me. Like, oh, I should tell you about like, um, man, I said so. Basically, the reason why they found out I had acute myeloid leukemia was because I started to have these little dots called petechiae just like show up on my legs. So they're little tiny red like pinprick dots that are like blood basically flowing up through the skin because I didn't have enough platelets to um, clot my blood basically. So you could see like just little dots coming up, and then over maybe about like a week or two, or not a week, maybe like a month or so, it started really slowly, like dots in the legs, and then it started to go up. And when I was in the ER, there was just petechiae dots literally all over my face. I could probably find a picture and send it to you if you want to like edit in just
Yeah.
like a picture of what my face looked like in
Mhm.
the ER. But it was just like polka dots of little red like blood spots everywhere. And it was I looked like a zebra.
A
Well, not a
zebra.
zebra, but like a tropical fish, pretty much. So that was interesting. And then I was telling my friend about it. I'm like, either I have some weird like bacterial infection, or I have cancer, and it could be anything in between. And I'm like, it's probably cancer. Uh, I wasn't very optimistic about that at that point. And so then like the doctors came in, they told me disease probably they checked under the microscope, they could see like abnormal white blood cells and all that. And so I got admitted literally that day. Yeah, real fun.
And you were intrigued about it. Did that change over time with treatment?
Nope. I only got more interested in it, to be honest.
Strong-willed
Yeah.
boy.
Not really strong-willed,
In
but
the
just like
year.
it's just like really cool, all the treatments you can do. Oh my god, I spent so much time diving into like how one of the medications and how it worked. So like there's a medication called Ara-C, which how it works is it looks you're gonna have to go back to like basic biology for this, but it looks like cytosine, I think it is. Basically, like cytosine has like the a 5-member ring on top and a 6-member ring on the bottom, and like an oxygen offshoot and stuff like that, nitrogen offshoots and stuff. But the RSC is basically has the same shape, but the oxygen is on the other side of the ring, and so it changes the shape. And but like your cells will still think it's cytosine, and they'll pick it up and then incorporate it into your DNA, which causes like some mishap. Your DNA won't be able to zip together, or like I don't know, you won't be able to build further chains on the DNA,
Mhm.
and then that will cause like a reader, like a DNA spell checker, to come through and then declare that the cell is having some like replication issues, and then it'll cause the cell to die.
Mm.
So yeah.
So like it's basically like a medicine that like it fakes the cell death. That's crazy.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really, really cool. So I can say I got only more and more intrigued about cancer research and stuff. So like I mean that's probably my only advice is at least take the time to learn something in there, because there's not much else you can do. At least like it's a little bit interesting to see how everything works. least for me personally. Maybe other people have like a different outlook,
No,
but that's what really helped me like take my mind off of like, oh, you've got like a coin flip chance of not coming out of this alive. Just
nah, that's definitely good advice. I mean,
Mhm.
we're like running up.
interesting
We're
to
like
hear,
running up on
though.
like. Oh, sorry, Alicia.
I was just to say it's interesting to hear because I feel like we always hear about like the grim and dark sides of cancer, but to hear that you were intrigued is
Yeah.
just like it's
I have a
cool to
very
get that
different take.
perspective.
So mom and dad's reaction were much different from mine. I think dad did a lot of what I did, but he was way more worried about me. To be honest, I was not worried about my chances of like anything. I'm like my outlook was like, if I go, there's not much I can do about it. So I might as well spend the time to enjoy what I have left. So I'll just like learn and do all that stuff and have fun. But like my parents were really worried about it. Like my mom became kind of religious during this period. I don't know if she still is, but yeah, she was like walking and running to the church and like praying and stuff like that, which was kind of fascinating coming from like a very very atheist type person beforehand. But like my dad put in a lot of time to read like research papers and stuff like that, figuring out to do his research. I think he was like even more on top of it than some of the doctors were, which was a good and a bad thing because like every time he would talk to the doctors, it would be like this suggestion, that, and like obviously I know he means well, but like it got kind of old after a while.
Mm.
Because like the doctors, they obviously know what they're doing. They've been paid to do it. They're
Yeah,
working
for
really
sure.
hard, and then when someone's coming in to tell them that you should do this, it's kind of
Mhm.
annoying.
What about
Yeah, I agree with you.
what about like the entire system in general? Like I know you weren't allowed like to have bring plants in and stuff. Like, what would you change about this system?
Um, there's just like no one to talk to. Really, you're really really lonely in the hospital. There's not much to do. I think that was more because of COVID than anything. I think there used to be, or there was before COVID, like some sort of um like a teen area or something where you just like meet up and talk and hang out or something. But because of COVID, they didn't want to risk anything, and so we can't interact with each other. But that's something they tried to fix with like iPads and Zoom calls and stuff like that. But it's not the same.
Yeah, it's always awkward
Um,
with the Zoom.
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah.
Anything else or
I don't know if you've got
I
like
have
any
this.
final
I have
questions for
one
me.
more. But
no? About the changes in the system. Is what I'm saying.
oh,
Changes in the system. I think it was really good. Well, maybe one thing. This might get a little bit like touchy and political and stuff, but like so like the cost for this treatment, at least for the insurance company, I think we paid a lot in like every single time. I don't know if you know what like a deductible is, but our medical insurance, like we hit the deductible like instantly every year or for both years. Um, and so that was kind of expensive, but obviously worth it. And then like my mom was looking at the bill that the insurance had to pay to the hospital, which was like, oh my god. For the first 3 months of treatment, I didn't like no bone marrow transplant, no nothing. $800,000 paid to the hospital. Absolutely wild.
Out of our pockets or like including
Not
insurance?
insurance. Out of our pockets, we'd be
that's
bankrupt.
crazy.
There
Yeah,
is
that's
no
what I'm
way.
saying. Holy
Yeah, that is insane. I don't know if this is. I think I look at that number and I think like I wonder if that's what it should cost. I'm not like well versed enough in healthcare policy, but I think that number is it makes me itch my head a little. Um,
Very high.
Are the rumors
and
true? Like about like hospital stuff? Like a bandit is like $85.
it depends. That's for like a different general section of the hospital.
Oh.
Like for the ER and stuff. I think if you know like the YouTuber Chubby Emu, he's the guy who makes like presenting to the emergency videos. And
Oh yeah,
he'll
yeah, I
talk.
know that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. He makes really good videos. I really appreciate his content. But like he'll talk about, or I think he was talking about some like the reason why stuff costs so much is because like waste. Like if someone orders something and then they don't end up using it, they have to like spread the cost to the next person, and then it just like ends up compounding. So like if someone orders a Band-Aid and they end up not using it, they have to have someone like eventually pay for it. I think that's kind of not great, but there are pros and cons to everything. I just wish it was like a little bit better. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions?
So did you learn anything about yourself in particular throughout this, you think?
Um, I think I the fact that I just like I just do stuff. I don't
Good
think
answer.
I just do stuff. There's if you could give me cancer, you could give me chemotherapy and stuff like that, but I'm just like at the end of the day, I'm gonna want to stay up until 5 a.m. building robots or 3D printing or whatever, which was like it was really nice. It pissed off mom quite a bit because she had to sleep in the same room with me, but yeah. So like when I got back, I was like so happy. Like I've been spending the entire time like I showed this yesterday, which is like a Twitch controlled robot. You basically snap your phone into this phone mount here and then set it to a Twitch stream, and then you connect the Raspberry Pi up to be like a chat bot, and then you can type commands and drive the robot from anywhere on Earth, pretty much, as long as you have internet connection. Yeah.
Wild.
So those projects and stuff like that, I like working on those. I've got a few more like coming in.
Closing
What's that?
statements. Closing statements. Anyone?
Who knows?
I mean, I
You know
think
what?
I think we pretty much covered it. I mean, like we talked about the treatment itself before, during, after, right? We talked about like relationships, student, school, teachers. Yeah, and college. That was a big part. I mean, like we had like questions about the system, like your interests, how your interests has changed, how you changed mentally and emotionally. I think we did a pretty solid job covering your time in treatment and like what you learned and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Happy to come on. Like if you have other guests, then I kind of want to talk to other people who have had like similar experiences too.
that'll definitely be good.
And I can
That'd be
audit
actually,
them.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, ladies and
Definitely
gentlemen,
an expert.
Spencer Lee, I would like to thank you for coming on the podcast and spending your time with us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
I hope you do best in the future. And I hope you join the Insulin Project.
Yeah.
That was Spencer Lee giving his story and perspective about his time in treatment. If you like what you hear, please think about supporting us by following our social media via TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at young_survivors_podcast. Thank you for listening, and we hope you join us next episode.